The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Wheels of Justice is now in session. Judge Maynard Bangs presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Bangs.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we are hearing the case of The People versus Malignant, a 2021 horror film about a woman who suffers visions of a murderous individual who seems not only to be out of her past, but is closer to her than she can possibly imagine.
Oh.
For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Bass Ackwards, Ryan Luis Rodriguez, you are appearing on behalf of the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
I don't know what that means, Your Honor, but I'll proceed anyway. The late 80s and early 90s were the height of horror, when you could cross genres and still play to a mainstream audience. The film we're arguing over today took in only $13 million at the domestic box office, so I think it's safe to say that it didn't cross over into the mainstream, despite being produced and distributed by the largest film-producing corporation / telecommunications giant, co-written and helmed by a man who just scored a $1 billion-plus sensation called Aquaman. But I'm not here to litigate Aquaman. I've already made my case for why that's a terrible movie. But anyway, Malignant plays like a bunch of VHSs that you had to sneak past your parents at the video store, then watch late at night when they're sleeping, trying to contain your terror so that you don't wake them up. The problem is that this stylistic mashup has an identity crisis. Is it horror? Is it a thriller? Is it a stealth comedy? It's all of these things and less. All those genres done poorly, all in one movie. The film doesn't even become fun until the last half hour. And until that point, it's just a visually uninspiring tale about a protagonist who is underdeveloped at best, something that can be levied at a lot of James Wan movies. Through 4 succinct arguments, I shall prove that Malignant is a parasitic growth that must be surgically excised from our collective nervous systems. Thank you. Case dismissed.
Not on my watch. Thank you, Mr.
Gavel came close. Be careful.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. We look forward to you keeping it succinct. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Jonah Ray. No, wait. Oh, no, that's not Jonah Ray. It's Mr. Chris Gersbeck. Please present your opening
Did you look at his
statement.
shirt?
I know, he's not Jonah Ray. I'm seeing his shirt.
It's me, not Jonah Ray, the complete opposite of Jonah Ray. I'm very happy to be here, actually. I picked this movie to defend because I watched it when it first came out on HBO Max and thought instantly it was the most batshit horror movie I had seen in quite some time. And I'd like to defend it because I think that was 100% the intention of James Wan, was to make a truly baffling film that in its last half hour becomes pretty much a completely different film that is even more entertaining than the first hour. And I don't know. James Wan's not, I understand he's a very mainstream director, but I do appreciate his approach to horror in just visually and just with the sound and the score and everything. I do think he's actually one of the better horror directors of modern cinema.
Thank you, Mr. Gersbeck. Mr. Rodriguez, please proceed with your first exhibit.
Malignant is a horror film, right? It carries all the hallmarks of that particular genre, even as it introduces some extra elements to keep from collapsing into complete boredom. But horror films are supposed to be scary, right? A good horror film either instills dread in the audience or at least introduces one or two moments that make the audience jump out of their seats. Great horror films are capable of doing both simultaneously, but director James Wan doesn't seem to be interested in either. He just disguises his stupid story as something in the genre realm. There is not a single jolt in the entire runtime. Even when it completely folds in on itself, it refuses to be. Oh, no, please go ahead.
There is absolutely a jolting moment in which her abusive husband gets stalked and killed by Gabriel within I believe like the first 10 minutes. I jumped. My wife jumped.
You jumped? Really?
My wife jumped too.
It says a lot about you that it doesn't say about me. I don't know.
It might have been.
This courtroom takes the opinion of wives very seriously.
It very well could have been my wife jumping that caused me to jump. I will admit to that.
For some reason, I'm picturing the opposite. Mr. Gersbeck, would you agree with the prosecution's definition of the aims of horror?
Yes, but I also think a lot of emphasis has been placed on horror. Jump scares have been around, the horror genre for as long as I can remember. I mean, House on Haunted Hill has jump scares. But I don't think that necessarily is what makes a horror movie, or that's not what I judge how scary a movie is. I would say a movie like Rosemary's Baby is way scarier than a movie like Malignant. Zero jump scares. And I'm realizing now I'm kind of proving your point in the fact.
Keep talking. Keep on going, man. Let's get on this train of thought. Let's chew. Come on, let's go.
If you do take out the more jolting elements of Malignant, you're right. It isn't very scary. But that's not why I enjoy it. I enjoy it for other reasons.
Mr. Rodriguez,
which I'll get to later.
Yeah, I'll keep going. So even when it completely folds in on itself, it refuses to be even the least bit scary, except for wives. Now, all the murder scenes, important for a slasher or graphic whodunit, are accomplished with a decided lack of interest or visual flair, and it doesn't offer even an iota of tension. Even if it's less a horror movie and more of a thriller, aren't thrillers supposed to be thrilling? I am, as I've illustrated several times in this very courtroom, a total puss. I avoided watching horror films in earnest until I was in college, simply because I couldn't handle the idea of being jostled in my theater seat. But as much of a puss as I am, I watched the entirety of Malignant without so much as a spike in my pulse. Even my Fitbit didn't detect anything, and it seems to understand my apprehension and nervousness as I record my various podcasts. Hell, right now, it's registering my anxiety, making Reels of Justice scarier than Malignant.
Mr. Gersbeck, any responses to this?
No, I'd say this is Malignant's definitely way more of like a mystery movie, and I have seen a lot of reviews compare it to old giallo films and that genre of like, you're kind of trying to follow what's going on and you have like a vague idea, but you don't really know until the end. And that is what I appreciate more about this movie, is that it kind of starts and you're like, oh, well, obviously she got this cancer removed and the cancer somehow survived and is now stalking people. But like, first time watching this, I really didn't put it together that it was just like coming out of her skull and causing her to enter a state of paralysis. And I'm assuming I didn't guess that because that's an absolutely insane plot point to have in a movie like this. So, but that's what I appreciate about this movie. I think it's a funny kind of mystery, and I say funny, and just because it's so like once Gabriel just starts running around in the open and doing like Spider-Man type flips and stuff like that. I was just cracking up the entire time. Those are really, those are the elements of this movie that I appreciate most. If not, you could say it's a horror movie just because it's kind of gory and bloody and stuff. But you know, I think mystery would be a more sort of appropriate label if we were going to put one label on it.
Mr. Rodriguez, you like to continue with your points?
Yes, so I'm glad we are referencing the twist because my next two arguments concern that twist. First up,
Well, now just a clarification from the bench. I know we mentioned cancer, but Gabriel is a conjoined
He's a teratoma.
Twin.
He's a teratoma.
Is that like a conjoined twin? You speak to
That's
me
a
like
A
Dylan
cancerous,
Even I'm stumped.
cancerous twin.
They explained that,
Cancerous
yeah,
twin.
it's a cancerous twin. They share the same brain, so it's not technically a conjoined twin.
Got it. Okay. All right.
All right.
Proceed.
Malignant lasts 111 minutes, and the twist doesn't really arrive until 3/4 into the runtime. When the twist is really the only reason for the movie to exist, the rest of the movie should at least be interesting or something to invest in, and that is where James Wan falters most egregiously. Surely the director of Saw and The Conjuring knows the value of beginning the story with a sense of intrigue before getting the story started in interest, than at least offering some genre thrills up until the point where the movie announces what it's truly about. But Wan doesn't do that. Instead, he crafts a murder mystery following beat cops trying to track down this dastardly killer, which is completely at odds with the horror elements and makes me wonder why he went down that narrative avenue in the first place. Wan has never been great at the whole police procedural element of several of his alleged thrillers, yet he insists on using them anyway. Madison's quest to find out exactly why she's having visions of future murder victims fares slightly better, but it's still not particularly interesting. I saw this film in the theaters on opening night and spent close to an hour and 10 minutes with my arms folded, a sour expression on my face. Only when the actual twist arrived did I feel like I was actually watching a movie I was remotely interested in. And no twist is enough to make up for that utter tedium.
Mr. Gersbeck, any responses to this? Is the build up to the twist really boring?
No, I was appreciating this movie for the first hour on its own, just because I was just wondering what the hell was happening the entire time, and then the twist comes, and I think James Wan really nailed the whole, because you kind of are seeing it from two sides. You're watching her adopted mother and sister watching these old VHS tapes that very conveniently lay out the entire plot and brings you up to speed.
And because people still have VCRs, right?
Yeah, that's what I
sense.
said. That's what I said to my wife. I was like, "Wow, they still have the VCR. I haven't had one in 20 years." But that's they're cutting back and forth between that and then her in the jail cell and about to slaughter like 20 other people in the jail with her. And I like, because you're realizing, oh, it's really inside of her the whole time at just the right moment when she's getting like the shit kicked out of her. And it's, I don't know, that kind of reveal to me is way better than if they had just shown, like, I feel like a lot of movies would just gone the avenue, like they were just watching the VHS tapes, and then as soon as they realize what's really going on, the killer like kicks in the door and kills them or whatever. But I don't know. I just find this movie super entertaining, and that's what I watch movies for. So I think it was effective just for that.
All right. Ryan, do you have some further points?
Yes, I have two more arguments, but I want to piggyback on. So we've talked a lot about the twist in kind of vague details, but let's get to it. It turns out that the protagonist, Madison, has a twin brother that didn't separate from her in the womb and has become a teratoma before becoming a parasitic twin named Gabriel, sharing a brain and a spinal cord with Madison. Gabriel was surgically removed from her body except for the brain, which made the twin dormant in her mind. When she traumatically injures her head, it awoken the twin. Now Gabriel can command control of her body and has started tracking down and murdering everyone that was responsible for removing his body. When he controls Madison, he emerges from the back of her head and controls her body like a backwards marionette. Gabriel makes his presence known when Madison is locked up in jail, and he exits the back of her head and proceeds to murder everyone in the police station indiscriminately, even though Gabriel had previously only taken revenge on those responsible for his surgical removal. Now, even if you haven't seen this film, that sounds like the stupidest twist in the world, doesn't it? It should, because it is. The question is, does James Wan, the director, understand just how stupid it is? Or is he retreating to dead silence territory, where the audience sits there in abject hilarity, completely against what he intended? It's hard to understand. Surely he's done stupid stuff before, but rarely this absolutely stupid.
Mr. Gersbeck, is it absolutely stupid?
No, I think historically, twists in movies, the greatest twists in cinema history, have been. If you look back, a lot of people thought that they were just absolutely ridiculous and laughable. I've read reactions, people's memories of their reaction to watching The Empire Strikes Back for the first time in the theater, and thinking it was just such a ridiculous thing that there's no way that it could be true. And I'm not saying the twist here is
and that's what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying.
You should say that, Chris.
I think in retrospect, in 10 years from now, I think people are going to look back at Malignant and say they just went for it. They went for this insane twist that you really like. Did anyone really see that coming? I mean, I certainly did not. I assumed it was either there was some other kind of supernatural element to it, or that it was just Gabriel was this completely separate entity. And there was another twist I was just thinking of that people laughed at when it first. I can't remember. But
when they blow up the shark in Jaws, that's a twist, right? That counts.
That is,
because he could just keep going. I mean, he's a shark. So
that's
if you don't
true.
blow him up, that's a twist.
I guess so. Yeah. No, there was another twist I was just thinking of that. God damn it! Now I can't remember.
The Sixth Sense?
No, Ben.
Well, Sixth Sense.
The Village.
Ben.
The Village.
Just keep saying Shyamalan movies until man throws the case out.
No reducto ad Shyamalan. Order.
Wide Awake. That's a Shyamalan movie.
No.
Lady in the Water.
No ad Shyamalan.
Oh, we can't do that?
Mr. Gersbeck, please, if you have any further points, otherwise I'll send it back to the prosecution.
We could send it back to the prosecution. But I will say the Sixth Sense twist I didn't see coming. And I would say that some people thought that was really stupid when that came out too. Probably less people than the people who thought Malignant was stupid.
Oh, I can confirm.
Probably a little less.
A whole lot
Probably
less.
a little less. Rye Guy. Any
Yes.
further points?
To piggyback on my previous argument, I have one further exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
Is this intentionally silly or just the ultimate hilariousness of the film completely inadvertent? It's hard to tell because up until the twist, James Wan seems to take everything deadly seriously. There is some ironic humor, but for the most part, the film feels achingly sincere, which puts it at odds with the whole premise of, again, a parasitic twin emerging from his sister's head to kill a bunch of medical professionals. It's never clear if we're supposed to laugh with it or laugh at it. There are very few jokes or moments of real levity, and it has a notable absence of irony. The movie obviously exists in a heightened reality, but it leaves far too many questions unanswered and raises serious plausibility issues. To quote Michael Gingold, this movie's biggest bloodbath, which is certainly energetic and splattery, but has very little dramatic weight and plays like something out of a video game, it feels like a half dozen of these VHS rentals glommed together into one movie. Some psychic horror, some slasher horror, some body horror, a dash of women in prison, etc., without sufficient human interest to hold it all together. Clearly, James Wan is a fan of 80s and 90s horror trash, But is he accidentally creating something that makes even less sense than any of his inspirations? Or is it winking and knowing? It traffics in serious issues like trauma and abuse, but also parasitic twins? Is that on the same level? I just don't know. And with that, I rest.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Gersbeck, you may proceed with your first exhibit. And I think the first thing I'd like to hear is a response to that. At what point did you know the film was intentionally winking at you and that everything we were seeing was meant to be silly?
I think the moment that after that prison scene, because it's just so over the top. I mean, Gabriel kills at least 15 people, and they're all dressed like stock characters out of out of like an early 80s movie.
Out of a women in prison flick.
One of those. But no, like the way he kills like the cop and everything. I'm pretty sure James Wan is saying, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure James Wan is saying.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm pretty sure James Wan is saying, like, look, it's a movie about a cancerous tumor emerging from the back of this woman's head. Like, come on, like, we're not going to take this seriously. Here's a bunch of women getting killed in a jail cell by a parasitic twin that just for some reason doesn't comb the hair all the way back to cover the actress's face. Because I will close with this, is that I do think that a lot of people would have found this less hokey had the design of Gabriel not just had the actress's face with her eyes closed on the back of the skull, because it's such a ridiculous image. This thing's doing flips and stuff and like all these just insane like superhero moves, and the entire time like this beautiful actress is like on the back of his head with her eyes shut. It's just, and also the voice too. I think had the voice been a little less or just have less dialogue overall, that people would have been far less disappointed with the whole last half of the movie. But at the same time, like, I am laughing at how ridiculous it is that I'm watching a movie with this character, and I don't know, I appreciate that. I think I do think James Wan intended to make a trashy movie, and I think he succeeded.
Would you say, question from the match, would you say that the rest of the aesthetic of the film matches this trashiness?
It is highly stylized, so probably not. Like, I know what you mean. Like, there's like that really long shot with Gabriel in the police station, and it looks like it's shot with like a really wide angle lens, and there's like clearly a lot of CGI. Mm-hmm. That, I think, had they taken that out and made the jail sequence a little less flashy, it would have fit the aesthetic more. But no, I mean, there's like a lot of, I do think he was like trying to make it look pretty trashy intentionally. And this does also really feel like a movie to me, like I would have rented like as a kid from Blockbuster, like in secret, and watched it.
And as a former Blockbuster employee, I would have rented it to you.
No wonder they're out of business.
Exactly. But what about Hollywood Video? Do you have any further points before you rest, Chris?
I think that's it.
Right.
James Wan forever.
Not for him. I don't know.
That tattoo is going to age very poorly.
Both sides have rested. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Rodriguez, you may begin.
James Wan clearly cashed in his chips after winning his parents' studio a new billion-dollar franchise, but the question remains, is this really his blank check movie? And if it is he on the level? Does he know how absolutely absurd Malignant is, or is he so high on his own supply that he made an entire movie with blinders on, unable to see how ridiculous the entire enterprise was? I have no idea. We could live to be 200 years old and never know the actual answer. If he's making something that's deliberately self-parody, he certainly made no effort to confirm this in the press, which leads me to believe that one of these days he will confirm the self-parody angle, because there's simply no way for him to say that it was sincere, because people either praise the twist for its sheer gonzo nature or recognize it as a bridge too far. Look, I kind of love this movie, but I also have a large amount of esteem for the likes of The Room and Birdemic. Will Malignant emerge as a cult hit in the same vein in the years to come? Maybe, maybe not. All I know is that we'll be talking about the twist and probably the borderline tedium that encompasses the first hour and 20 minutes of the runtime, which is definitely not a positive development. Thank you. Case dismissed.
Now you stop that. But thank you. Mr. Gersbeck, please present your closing argument.
I'll say watching this the second time, and also just probably relevant to like current events, but I do also think that the movie has a very strong pro-choice element to it. And the character takes back her body and basically tells the parasite to fuck off. And if anything, I do think that that's an element of it that people will look back on and say, all right, well, maybe James Wan was trying to say something with this. I don't think it's going to become like a Room or Birdemic type of thing. But if it did, I'd be all for it, because I think more people would be watching it and enjoying it just for that element. So it's a good thing.
All right. Thank you. Members of the jury, Mr. Rob Maynard, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, and Mr. Big Ben Haslar, you have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
Right this way. You might say the bonny lass didn't care for Gabriel, but then he grew on her.
Bailiff and his dad jokes.
I thought the bailiff was going to talk about how he was a former parasitic twin or something.
Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
I like the dad joke better, though. All right, everyone. This is Dylan, the foreman for today.
I know who you are. I'm looking right at you.
It says on your badge right there.
It's true. Let's dive in to the case here. I think Ryan made some very good, succinct points, like he said he would, and I think Chris did a good job of kind of presenting basically the Achilles heel of this prosecution. It could be like, is James Wan taking this seriously or not? Like, is he intentionally making this kind of weird big movie? What do you think, Big Ben?
I think a lot of this movie does hinge on that twist, whether you accept it at that point or not. If you're like, okay, this is crazy, it's out there, and I love it, and it actually makes everything I had to sit through before make sense, then you'll walk away saying this is a good movie. And for me, I was kind of that way. I was exactly like Ryan. His case encapsulated how I felt the first time. I was bored to friggin' tears the first 2/3 of this movie, and then the twist happened, and it was great. So I wasn't sure how I felt, but the rewatch helps that, because those hints are there. They do lay them out. The twist is so out there that you're not really looking for them until they happen, or like until you see it in retrospect. So I think that most of the case hinges on that.
All right, and Maynard, how are you feeling?
Gassy. For me, it's a tough line for me to walk, because the twist is super gonzo, right? But it's not just that he takes over her body to use it to get revenge. It's that he's incredibly physical, right? That's the really weird thing that I think throws people, is that, I mean, Gabriel could just be controlling her mind. He doesn't even have to move the body, right? Like, he shows that he has like electrokinesis throughout the movie, right? He can control radio waves and speak through radios. He has the ability to, like, this weird power over electronics. He could kill people that way. Like, it wouldn't be hard to explode people's pacemakers or electrocute people, have huge bursts of EMP. But Juan chooses not to do that. He instead chooses to make Gabriel do backwards kung fu and like climb the walls. Like there are
I don't know. The way he moves is cool. It's very parkoury and neat. I like it.
Sure, but how did he learn it, Ben? I mean, muscles take a while to train.
He had years to think about it.
Only to think. But
You
muscles
could only think about it. Yeah.
try to run backwards right now, especially up a wall. Like
I know how to swim just because I read it on the internet.
Well,
This
and then
is
she
translate.
has that weird moment where she's like, "Well, it was always my body," so she does have superpowers. It's just no one else
Yeah.
seemingly has superpowers. It was kind of
Well, they are
kinda
two
weird.
masses kind of grown together in the same body, so I
I
don't
mean,
know
he
if that
gets
helps
shot
or not.
multiple times, and it just doesn't seem to affect him at all. So those are like where the Gonzo goes. I think that's where it gets really weird. That's where I think Juan really goes all in on it. He's like, not only is this thing alive, not only can it take over her mind and has sinister purposes, like it's basically a superhero. Like it's basically a Super Sentai.
Yeah, super villain essentially. Yeah,
And
It's
I
like-
have to kind of agree with Ryan. I don't see the wink and the nod anytime before that. So like
No.
at best it's a bait and switch, because before that it's got a very James Wan horror movie feel that like, no, everything here is like very scary. Like guys,
Yeah, I mean, like she has
Really?
a miscarriage for crying out loud. So it's there's no winking or nodding. It's pulling the rug out from under
Several.
you, if anything.
she has
you know?
several of them. But at least
Yeah.
one within the film, but she's had several.
Yeah.
And an abusive husband. Like, yeah, it starts heavy, and it basically remains heavy. I mean, there's some nitpicky things that like that you could go after. Like those records still wouldn't be in the hospital, right? Like,
Oh
forget
my goodness.
forget
Yes.
people not having a VHS. They would never have just kept records there. You know, and for somebody to just walk in and
I
start
don't know,
looking at.
20 something years ago, I can sort of see it. It would have been towards the
I
end. for
tell you,
sure,
I
but-
work in some of that medical stuff. All that's private health information, man. You can't just keep that lying around anywhere.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know, those are all top.
Yeah, you wouldn't
secret
have
files.
patient records like that. That's
Yeah.
just- that
Yeah.
was
And and don't forget this guy. With one thing we didn't mention, this guy kills everyone with like the trophy that the doctor got, which was like essentially an award for her
It's
helping to cut out.
symbolic.
It is symbolic, but also trophies are made of brass. You can't sharpen that thing down and start cutting like people's limbs off with it. It's not hardened steel like a sword. Like it's not tempered
He sharpens
steel.
it. You see him sharpening it.
That doesn't matter. It's brass.
have
It's still
destroyed it.
going to break on against a bone. It would never cut through you. I do get the symbolism. He probably should have killed only one person with it. The fact that he carries it around as his weapon the whole movie, like bludgeoning the doctor to death with the trophy. I think that was fine, but I think once he starts spinning around and murdering like
badass knife.
but
15
so
cops. He's
if
killing
we-
15 cops in one room. All of them have guns. They charge at him to shoot
No,
him.
they do
Like,
charge him
it's-
to shoot
it's
him.
that
They're
Bruce
trying to
Lee-
shoot at him
Scene,
through
though.
the
Bruce Lee
bars.
noodle time. See, I think that's the scene I don't like. I would have liked to just see him killing people one-on-one using kinesis, and I would have taken the twist seriously. Then it doesn't have to be satire. It doesn't have to be silly or ridiculous to me. I can accept a thing taking over someone's brain and making them move backwards and using kinesis to kill people.
Yeah, but then you don't get the absolutely brutal kills that she's seeing in her mind. You know, like the witnessing the bludgeoning and stuff that you're talking
he could
about.
still, I think he could still, while he's not like, there's a difference between being able to bludgeon an old man in his sleep and being able to kung fu fight 15 armed police officers with baton in one room.
You
And
know,
run
you say
backwards up
that
a wall.
all the time, and it actually makes sense now.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Big Ben, what were you going to say? You really like that scene.
Well, it's very visually interesting the way that the Gabriel's just flipping around and doing all that. And at that point, it is the point where they have gone all in. So it's sort of paying you back for like sitting for the first 2/3 where you were confused, thinking she was like psychically viewing a murderer. You know, it's like, no, this is what it is.
I was interested in the first half. I don't think it's as tedious as Ryan makes it out.
Oh, I did.
It feels like a lot of those later Saw movies, like a lot of some of the other Wan stuff. It's a very violent mystery with with like a psychic touch, a paranormal touch to it. What
it's
is this
appropriately
creature?
dreary. Yeah.
Yeah, what is this creature? I was interested in what the creature was. I'm not disappointed by what it turned out to be either. I'm just saying I don't think it had to be parody and ridiculous. I think there were ways to do a lot of it and still keep it somewhat grounded. One scene I did really like, and it was brought up by the defense, I do like the women in prison scene. It kind of reminds me of a recent movie we did with the Manchurian Candidate, where you kind of see the reality and then you kind of see the illusion that she's showing and that she's seeing. And they kind of splice and cut in between, back and forth between them.
Yeah, no, I think there was a lot of stuff that worked with their psychic connection, and I basically agree with the conclusion we're drawing that like they just kind of gave Gabriel too many powers. You know? It's just powers. Like, yeah, I mean, well, to even give him any powers, it's just kind of weird. Like he had powers when he was still in the back, which was, and that was another thing that wasn't brought up. The effects were pretty decent. Like the twin coming out of the back, that was scary. That was pretty good. You know, I'd say there's some shock value there.
Right. That was kind of where I think that very handsome judge was going with it. Does the movie? I don't think it ever really shows that it's trash. I mean, some of the shots are excellent. Like, I mean, it's
the house shot that we
exactly the house shot where they're going through over the top down the staircase is great. There's something I like a lot about the one where I think he's coming into a garage and there's all the cop cars in the darkness outside, and then there's like a dingy light effect into the garage, and it kind of pans right across him entering the threshold, and I think he goes back out later. And there was something about that shot I really liked too. There was something like very dynamic and colorful about the two lights that were there. I'm sure it's symbolic somehow of Gabriel and Madison, you know, the two halves. I'm sure that's what the intention is. I don't think it lands, but it still looked really cool. Anyway, I guess I'll go on record first.
Oh, sure, please.
Just get the ball rolling. I'm nitpicking. There's some stuff I would have done to fix it. Again, I'd like to see Gabriel not be as physical and martial arty. But I think the movie is a pretty decent mystery, and then the twist is so gonzo and big and goes for it so brashly that it's incredibly charming and wins you over. So I'm going not guilty.
All right, Big Ben, lock it in, baby.
I do think that this film could have been a lot better had they listened to Ryan's points beforehand, but you can't really see that until it's a finished product. But the hints are there on a rewatch. Even in the credits, you can see that everything's like splitting apart, and it's a lot more fun on a second watch. So I think that it does accomplish what Juan was trying to set out to do with it, except maybe he would have liked more money. But other than that, I think it works out. So I'm also going not guilty.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't this kind of released when the pandemic was
I think it may have been
really ravaging and mostly went to streaming?
I don't know. That might be true.
No, it was September of 2021.
Yeah, facts
that was
not
still the
evidence.
pandemic as far as I know, Ryan.
This was definitely still affected by that.
You see?
Yeah.
Get out of here, both of you.
Anyway, we know what the verdict's going to be. I think on the strength of the case, I was going to give it to Ryan with guilty. I thought this would be a good opportunity to nip this one in the bud, as we all learned in the Nothing But Trouble episode. Dan Aykroyd still stands behind Nothing But Trouble as a straight comedy, and I think if James Wan doesn't come out and say this is a parody or something, it stands behind it as straight horror, then we're going to look back and say, oh well, we but hey, I agree with Ryan. I think he's going to be forced into a corner to come out and say, oh, of course this is parody, whether or not he intended it. So we have the verdict. Let's go out there and tell that very handsome judge.
Oh, he's so handsome.
Oh, very, very beardsome today.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict? That's my verdict.
I was about to say, why are you using your Viking voice?
Oh, we have, Your Honor.
Don't patronize me.
I will. In the case of The People versus Malignant, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
Oh, wow, what a surprise. I'm so stunned.
Well, the verdict is so rendered, I hereby declare that we all show James Wan how sorry we are by going to see his new upcoming picture, Aquaman vs. Annabelle. Court is adjourned.
This is Azazel, the weird lump on the back of Dylan's neck. telling him to have checked, but he never did. Coming to you outside the real the Justice Courthouse. Ryan Luis Rodriguez, would you care to share your thoughts on this jury's verdict?
First of all, are you okay, Azazel? Do you need a hug? Yeah, I'm hugging you.
Okay.
I'm hugging you right now. It's okay, buddy. It's
Oh,
okay.
but that means you're...
It's okay.
Don't kiss Dylan in the meantime.
I'll have to
Because he's on
change
the
my
back of the
plans, though. I was going to do that. Yeah, first off, like, I knew going in I wasn't going to win this case, so that's fine. Also, I've already admitted that I kind of love this movie, so that's, it's fine. Whatever. So I lost. Big deal. What are you going to do about it?
Thank you very much, and here comes Chris Gersbeck. Excuse me, could we have a word on how you thought about your victory today?
I could not be happier. I've taken my pants off.
Oh, you too? Oh, good. I'm glad to know it wasn't just me.
I'd do that too, but then that means everyone would see Dylan with his pants off, and nobody deserves that. I'm gonna pop on out of here.
What?
Let's go to the studio for post-trial analysis.
Wait, I had to step away. I thought he was Bobcat Goldthwait. What's going on?
Yes, you
Dylan,
stepped
put your
away.
pants back on. For God's sake, man.
You didn't step away, Dylan. You went into a weird trance, and the big lump on the back of your neck did the interview.
Wait, what? No.
Yes, I know you didn't know, and because you were in a trance. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, then.
Exactly. But fun case. I always heard mixed things about this movie. I think there are some people who did absolutely refuse to go with Juan where he went.
Oh, not me. Not me.
And if you're
I was
not
100%
willing, then you
worried.
probably didn't have any fun. But I think if you are willing to go down the rabbit hole and just see this really bizarre creation, then the journey is worth it.
You have to be a little crazy to enjoy it, but aren't we all a little crazy? Just a little
We're
bit.
doing
I
this
am.
show, aren't we? Yeah, I think that's a fair way of looking at it. It's not. It is pretty neat, but I do think there's an argument where we could get it to bad in this courtroom, and I think Ryan did a good job doing that. So it was a good case. I applaud the effort, but I do enjoy the movie. But I enjoy bad movies.
I think it takes effort to like actively hate this movie because there are even if you are bored through the first part of it, I don't know, the payoff is worth it.
Which I was in the theater, but then watching it when it came out on 4K, I was kind of like, oh, I'm actually on board from the very beginning.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
it
really
works on a
great-
rewatch.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely
does.
does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. This was also my second time watching it. Was
This
it
is my
everyone's
third
second
time. I think I'll go back.
Yeah,
a few
second
more.
Wow.
time as well. Yeah, still enjoyable second time.
Mm-hmm. I'd say
Except,
more enjoyable.
I was gonna say, but Mayor and I did have our nitpicking caps on for it, and we're like, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. But like if you like you said, if you're going in for the ride, you strap in, you go down the log flume, they take your picture, you're smiling, your arms are up. It's a
Yeah.
And I just don't know why they bothered giving him like an electrokinetic.
It's like 17 powers, yeah.
So
it's
that
like,
he can talk through the radio and then don't do anything else.
That
like
that was
mentally
the only reason why. I
They
know.
needed something to mislead you, and I think that's how they do it.
Yeah,
'Cause otherwise you
that
might
is the
figure it
thing.
out.
It's like they're trying to drag me off the trail, like in the fact like she can see the creature. It's like, oh, it's obviously not her, and it blows
Right.
the door open. Well, it's obviously not her, and they're just really there's a lot of stuff made convenient just to really get the twist to be super weird.
Mhm.
But
they use that at the end, like the shifting perspectives. So
That
I
entire
forgave it
scene
for
is
that.
amazing. That is that's probably the best thing he's ever directed. Is that jailhouse scene?
Yeah.
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is there going to be a Malignant 2, The Return of the Tumor?
No.
Too many tumors.
I think
Can't
it bombed.
confirm. No.
Had it done well, I think. And they're hinting at it at the end. So, and James Wan's no stranger to sequels. So
yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
universe where it happens, but it's not the one we're living in.
right.
Yeah, the
We're
question
in
Well,
the darkest time.
whether he actually would direct it or whether
Yeah,
he would
it's
pass it off to someone
direct-
else.
Well, he directed the
DVD
first two
kind of stuff.
Conjurings, so it's not it's not
Yeah.
without
No,
possibility.
sometimes he'll come back.
Yeah, but he
and
was
see.
poor then. He's Aquaman. He's
No,
got
he
Aquaman
wasn't.
money
He
now.
wasn't poor then. No, he
Oh,
had
he wasn't?
several films under.
He's
his
too
belt by
busy
then.
getting Amber Heard out of digitally remastered out of the.
Is that what they're doing? Are they going to do
I
that?
think so.
No. But that was considered when she lost the verdict. They were like, "How do we find a way to get her out of the movie?" It's like, well, you don't. You shot the movie. It's over.
Well,
You
yeah,
gotta
they
kinda
just
roll with
canceled.
it.
Did they just
Yeah.
cancel
Batgirl.
that
yeah.
Batgirl?
And
It's
they're
like
still
baffling.
thinking about what do we do
Nah.
with the Flash now that Ezra Miller is
I
persona
know.
non grata. So I have no idea how they're going to
First,
walk
I don't
out of
know
that
what
one.
they did.
Again, it was brought up earlier, but we'll put it official. Ryan and I do have a bet, $1 Canadian,
Yes.
that within the next year and a half, Batgirl will be released.
Yeah.
There's too much internet buzz about it, and I think the story was a PR move.
That's what
Let us see how
read,
bad your movie is. Let us see it. Give it to us.
Or it just gives them an excuse to release it on HBO Max without worrying about.
Well, it was supposed to be released on HBO Max. It was going to go without theaters, but the reason that they're dropping it right now is because since they're being bought by a different company, they have about a month window to jettison any projects that they don't think are viable, so that they could still get tax kickbacks.
Right.
But this thing, isn't it completely done?
Yes, it is fully shot and is still in. They're still doing visual effects, but they were told
it's not
while they were out of the country that they don't need to come back because there's no reason to.
All right, I don't know if I want to give up my Canadian dollar yet.
Hey, you already made the bet, man.
Maybe like, do they have like a 50-cent piece?
We're all witnesses.
All right, I'll give you the Canadian dollar, but only if you collect it in person.
It'll definitely come out eventually. I think there's no way that movie is not going to see.
It'll come out on LimeWire and iTunes, and we'll all download it illegally.
But even that, the original Fantastic Four movie, it's like if you wanted your hands on that, you could get it.
Exactly,
Oh yeah, I got that one as well.
And exactly, it might accidentally leak, Ryan.
Yeah, with all temp VFX, people are gonna love that.
I actually would. I still want to see the bad version of Sonic, which doesn't actually exist, but I wish they had done it.
I've only ever seen the work print leak of Wolverine, the first Wolverine.
Oh wow!
But that had like all these weird unfinished effects and
no, that's the movie,
no,
Chris.
It's
that's
still
unfinished. That's what everyone got in theaters. It was unfinished. Yeah,
they were like polygon. I just remember like polygons jumping around at one point. It's just completely.
That's the movie. Yeah, that's Deadpool. He's the polygon.
Oh God.
So, Chris, what has been keeping you busy? A lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, the Mads are back. It's still going strong. We just had a 2-year anniversary last month, in July, and still doing it the second Tuesday of every month. I think the next one in September is going to be let me just look at the calendar. It's going to be September 13th. So we don't have the movie yet, but we'll announce that soon, and you can get tickets at the Mads 27.eventbrite.com. It's the 27th live stream. And then Mary Jo Peel shows every fourth Tuesday of the month. And you can watch that on Twitch, and also the online art classes I'm producing with Jackie Naaman Jones from Manos, The Hands of Fate. It's a really fun course we started doing where she's an amazing painter, by the way. She was the little girl in Manos. For those listening who don't know,
she's Debbie, the one who gets overdubbed by a 40-year-old woman.
Yes.
Mommy, I'm cold. It's about as good as that.
It's and then the Misty, she's just such a fascinating woman, and she's got so many great stories about that movie and just her life. Her dad played the master in the movie, and they just really embraced it, and the Misty communities really embraced her. And we started she's been a professional painter for 30 years, and so she reached out to me about doing some online painting classes that are all Mystery Science Theater themed. So far we've painted the master and his dog, and Crow and Tom Servo, and students get to vote on what we're painting the following month. So there's like a bunch of really fun paintings coming up.
I saw on her Facebook there's like Godzilla, right, coming up.
Yeah, that's an option. Godzilla. We just did we did Mothra already. And I think she came up with that's a good question. I don't know. It's it's just so much fun though. It's just a fun kind of way to spend your Saturday afternoon and get your art therapy in there. And
I want a Torgo done in the style of
Vincent Van Gogh.
The Vincent Van Gogh, yeah, that's it.
You can also recommend the influence as well as the thing you want to see painted. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it would have to be in that kind of style. I mean, I guess I would go with a cubism.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jackie comes up with the paintings, and then we kind of work off of her. So that's definitely something. I mean, I'm sure she would love to do a Torgo in the style of Van Gogh, because that's just that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's those are all the things keeping me busy. And then I do the Dave Hill Good Time Hour with my friend Dave Hill on Twitch every Monday at 8.
Yeah, recently you guys are going to do Vampire's Kiss.
We just did that. Yeah, Dave's been traveling so much. So Dez and I, is another producer in the show, we have just been watching Nick Cage movies whenever Dave can't make a show. So we did Vampire's Kiss.
That's what I call Saturday. Yeah, I'm with
Dave's not here, man.
Yeah. We did Vampire's Kiss. We did The Wicker Man. I don't know what we're going to do next. We were just discussing that. But yeah, it's still every Monday at 8 p.m. Bad Lieutenant is, someone in the chat, we were watching Vampires, because someone in the chat said Bad Lieutenant was his worst movie, and I was like, that movie is
no way,
freaking amazing.
Not even close.
This is why I hate the internet. And,
But yeah, that's every Monday on Twitch, Mr. Dave Hill.
All right, cool. And I know what you've got in milestone coming up on the Mary Jo Peel show, right?
Yeah, I got the 1-year anniversary at the end of the month. We're doing August 23rd, and it's going to be we're taping. Mary Jo's going to be in town in a couple weeks, so we're filming some sketches, and I promised to get a mohawk.
Wow.
A few months ago, if we got to like 500 subscribers, and we hit that pretty quickly, and people have been giving me.
No one's going to confuse you for Jonah Ray now.
Exactly. That's the reason behind it. No, we are going to film a whole segment of me getting a mohawk too, so that should be in the final episode. And man, thank God, because I can't appear on any live stream without someone harassing me for not getting it yet.
No, and that'll finally get them off your back. But no, that's going to be interesting. You said that's the 23rd.
It'll be August 23rd, 8 p.m. on Twitch. Yeah,
there you go, Mary Jo Peel show. We got to get Mary Jo back too. We haven't had Mary Jo in a while.
Oh yeah,
love Mary Jo.
She loved you guys. So she did
Ishtar.
What movie? Ishtar, right?
Ishtar, yeah.
She had a blast with you guys. So yeah, I'm sure.
She was mean to Rob, so that was a good episode.
It was really good.
It was it was an honor to be meant to have Mary Jo be mean to me. That was and I deserved it so well. But yeah, no, that will cool. We'll have to talk about that a little later. Now, we always ask for recommendations for movies that you think people should see. So, what is a movie people should see?
I'm going to recommend The Black Phone, the Ethan Hawke movie that just came out.
Excellent.
Because I've seen it twice. No, I've seen it 3 times already.
What?
I'm a madman. No, I watched it. My wife was traveling, and I saw it by myself, and I loved it. And I was like, she's going to love it. So we had to go back and see it a second time. Then I was just with my parents over the weekend. And I was like, we should just watch it because I know you'll love it. But it's a really great, effective horror movie that is very self-contained, and I love the style of it. It's set in the 70s, but that's not like a character of the movie or anything. Like, I think it just kind of works with the story, and Ethan Hawke playing a villain is super creepy, and the kid, it stars like 2 kids, and they're both amazing actors. So
kids are always good actors. There's not that many. There's not that many bad actors. You see all the Stranger Things kids. They're all pretty good.
That's true. I mean,
The Mummy Returns. Everyone loved him.
I think Hollywood's just gotten so like aware of that. Like, oh, maybe we really got to like knock it out of the park with these kids, or no one's gonna like this. And so I think they've gotten smarter about who they cast in these movies.
Yeah, it's not all just like the kid from the Babadook anymore. It's not just like precocious, annoying kids.
Yeah, no, it's Black Phone it's great, and it is. I've read that they're thinking of doing a sequel to it. I kind of hope that they don't, but I think that there is some potential to
because they never answer exactly how that phone works. So there's
phone.
There's room to grow there, but I don't necessarily think that they should. But they could.
I know.
No.
The whole element too with his sister being psychic and her mom and everything.
Let's not spoil it too much for
Sorry.
me. I'm seeing it.
Someone's watching it in the drive-thru tonight.
I'm seeing it tomorrow night at the drive-in.
Oh crap! Yeah, no, it's forget everything I
Yeah,
just
none
said.
of that happened. I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, no, it's. I mean, I'm sure that's not the twist ending or anything. So there's a
No,
psychic,
it's not.
Daughter, or sister. So, but I don't want to know too much. But
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
excellent recommendation, and I am going to see it tomorrow, which I'm excited by. Ryan, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation this week is another kinda horror movie, one released just a week before this taping, and that is Jordan Peele's Nope.
Yeah.
I wasn't initially all in on his previous film Us until recently, but I have no such issues with this. It is bold, it is idiosyncratic, it is thoroughly thrilling and beautifully shot in IMAX by Hoyt van Hoytema, and I hope we're witnessing but one chapter of a budding collaboration. My only issue, I don't want to wait another 3 years for the next one. I have no idea when this drops, but if you have the option to see it projected, see it on the biggest screen you can find.
And this ties in perfectly because guess what I'm seeing tomorrow night?
Nope.
The drive-in
I
is a
don't
double
wanna-
feature for Nope and The Black Phone.
Nice.
Wow.
Nope was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it on an IMAX screen, but now I really want to.
Oh, it's so worth it. It's
try to do that.
The only
glorious.
problem is, what are you going to recommend next week, Rob? All the movies you watched this week have been taken.
You know what? I'm more interested in what Rob, as our judge, has to recommend this week.
Well, I guess I'll probably do a James Wan movie. He's got an interesting oeuvre to pick from.
Sure.
I think I've seen just about all of them, so I'm just gonna kind of toss a dart here, and I'll recommend Insidious from 2010.
Great movie.
Before The Conjuring scared the clap out of me.
Nah.
Because he
boo.
does that clap.
Boo!
Juan and Patrick Wilson collaborated on this film about a young boy who can astral travel, but ends up getting lost in a dark dimension of the dead, leaving his comatose body vulnerable to possession at the hands of malicious spirits. Yeah, there's a lot going on. But I think I like this one even more than The Conjuring, as the set designs are great, the spookies are very spooky, and it has a sense of adventure and discovery. The world of the Further, which is the zone where the dead reside, it's vast, it's creepy, and it doesn't have like the claustrophobic contained feel of being stuck in a haunted house. You're feeling your way through a dark world where no living man should tread. Plus, Lin Shaye is great as the paranormal investigator Elise. So good that she goes from supporting character in the first to basically the protagonist as the series goes on. Plus, I assume she was affordable. Very affordable. Insidious is currently streaming on Tubi and Netflix and Hulu and apparently even Pluto TV. The rights to the movie, I assume, are also affordable. But maybe it's just that good. So see it and decide.
It's really good.
I like how you try to throw us all off the scent by acting like you didn't know what you were going to recommend. And then launching into that long description of the movie and everything about it. Yeah,
I
you
have
really
10
fooled
fully
me.
written
You
James
fooled
Wan
me.
reviews sitting here on my laptop. Which one am I going to do?
Oh, geez, I
Acting,
wonder.
thank
Should
you.
I go for Annabelle? I don't know. Insidious 2?
The sequels aren't very good.
I like the second one. No, actually, I kind of did enjoy them, but I felt like Lin Shaye is who held them together. More than anything. The fourth one really loses me, the Skeleton Key. But I don't mind 2 and 3.
I haven't seen. Yeah, I don't think I've seen 3 or 4. But the first one's amazing. I mean, that's like a I feel like that's a classic at this point.
That's a good recommendation, Rob. Oh, thank you very much. Monster on the back of Dylan's neck. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Dylan, what's your recommendation?
Well, I'm going so far afield because I was going to recommend this for the last show, but I already had a recommendation written out and I was lazy. So I want to discuss a lesson that is often retaught to me on this podcast, and that is you can't go back. Let me explain. Back in the swinging 90s, there was a glut of movies, shows, and toys all brewing in our cultural stew, and one thing we loved, and I mean loved, was animals being people fighting monsters. We had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks, to say nothing of the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. But we also had Warriors of Virtue, kung fu kangaroos in a mystical world, guiding a wayward boy to his destiny. And sweet denim and plaid-clad bowl-cut 90s. Jesus, it is awful. I had been building this movie up in my head for 25 years, and I got to watch it for the first time with my kids. I got to live vicariously through them, and they still hated it.
Yes.
Anyway, it's
Your
on.
kids hate a movie. It's bad.
So anyway, it's on Tubi, but so is Secret of the Ooze. So choose wisely.
Ooh,
Warriors
the
of
ooze.
Virtue. I remember when that came out thinking how absolutely horrible it looked. And I was like,
What? I thought it looked so dope.
I remember
The
just,
toys, everything was great.
it's just a lot of guys in like weird suits, right?
Yeah, doing kung fu and flipping around, and like the bad guy is just so crazy, like Andrew McGuinness or whatever his name. He's some British fellow. He's also the main bad guy in British, Scottish. I don't know which, or is it
They're
the
all the
Irish
same.
that don't like
They-
being called
They don't
British?
like to hear it, but it's all the same.
They're all in the UK. Yeah, we'll ask Jeremy next time he's on. But yeah, he played the bad guy in Equilibrium, so he's a very good actor, and he's just so over the top in this one. It's like the director just kept gesturing. He's like, tone it up, keep going. Like, there is no such thing as too much for this character here.
Dude, the kangaroos keep weapons in their pouches?
No, they're all. There's
Wow.
only one lady kangaroo, so I guess she would have the pouch. But
Oh, weird.
or do even boy kangaroos?
I thought they
have-
all had it, and they all had to kind of.
We'll have to ask Jeremy when he comes back, huh?
What do you
Also a
think?
kangaroo expert.
You know, I'm British. I'm not Australian. You know,
It's all the same.
those kangaroos, they frighten me to a certain extent. So Big Ben, why don't you send us on home?
Malignant is a Seattle-based horror film, so I thought I'd go with my favorite film that fits that same bill, which is, of course, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. No, of course, it's 2002.
That is
The
not
Ring.
cool, Ben. Not cool.
Not cool. You scared Ryan.
Oh God,
I
my
did.
my heart literally jumped into my throat, and I'm like, how dare he? Oh, thank God.
No, it's
No,
Sleepless
it's
in Seattle. is
2002's
what
The
you're-
Ring, of course.
Oh, right.
I've already recommended the original on this show, but this remains one of my all-time favorite remakes of one of my all-time favorite J-horror films. In fact, it's the film that got me into exploring J-horror initially. It perfectly captures the essence of the original while restructuring it for American audiences. It also adds new visual flair with fantastic cinematography, as I often find myself pausing and muttering to myself, oh, that's a cool shot. And of course, Hans Zimmer is known to deliver a good soundtrack, and this movie is no exception, as the score here is the perfect mix of mystery and creepy as the characters are propelled through exploring the secrets that they're trying to unravel. Which is another great aspect of this film. It delivers the right information at the right time, at the right pace, to keep you invested all the way to that plot twist at the end. Anyone who rates this beneath 4 out of 5 stars is not really looking at it. You can stream it on Hoopla or Paramount Plus if you finally got around to watching Picard Season 2 like I never did, or rent it from all those major players.
Hoopla! Now,
Hoopla.
The Ring is a movie I've been pushing to watch with Dylan's kids. Like, that's the horror movie I think they're ready for. Like, it's PG-13.
How old are they?
Well, one's like 6, the other's 9.
I
It might be
wouldn't.
too early. I'd say 10.
I don't know.
10's okay.
Well, that's why at least if we can get the 9-year-old. The 9-year-old is fearless.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I think my daughter would be interested in that. My son would not.
No, he would not. He would cry the whole time. Which
He would not.
I'm
He would not
also
cry though.
I'm kind of interested in too. You know.
No, you're so. He's only ever talked so well of you.
You gotta forge them in fire. Scare the crap out of them when they're young. They won't be scared of anything later. You know. There you go. Anyway, fine. Then the Sixth Sense first. So with that, we're all out of show, but we want to thank our guest Chris Gersbeck for joining us. Thank you so much, Chris.
Of course. You're the first person to ever pronounce it correctly.
Gersbeck. You have to
Gersbeck. Yeah, they really got to lean into it.
exactly.
You have to say it
and
like
we'll
a
have you
snooty
back.
French waiter.
I think it's because
Well, that would be Gersbeck.
I think it's because he was on for Cats one time, and we were doing a cat voice impression.
That's true. I was like flimmidly chimble plants or something for the interview,
and so now we go when we say
and we just goes everything.
So I think everyone should. But we'll have you back soon, Chris, and we'll have a lot of fun next time as well. And we're going to check out the Mary Jo Pehl Show on the 23rd of August, and of course, the Mads are back on September 13th.
Yes.
And we'll go painting too.
Yes.
Hopefully, finger painting is allowed, because that is just how
For
I
you
get
it
down.
is.
All allowed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll record that ASMR for everybody as well of me finger painting, so you guys can enjoy it.
And you got to sign up for the Patreon for that one.
And we hope you'll join us next time as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
Twins!
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.